In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit more about some extra features in Excel which is related to the goal seeking feature. Another one is called Scenario Manager, and a third one called Solver. So the first we'll get to the goal seek, and I've already typed up some of the examples, so I will try to leave a link to the description below so you can click on that link and download this file from my website. So in this first example, I just wanted to do like a payment scenario. So in the previous video, I talked about some financial functions, and one of them was the PMT, the payment function. Now here I have this loan of 100,000, and it's a payment of 180 months, which is 15 years multiplied by 12. So I want to pay off this loan of $100,000 in 180 months, 15 years. And the interest rate, I'm leaving it blank because I want the goal seek to figure it out. So I'm going to click on the payment, and I'm going to go to the formulas, financial, and I'm going to start the payment function. And I'm just going to do this calculation. The rate is whatever is in this cell divided by 12, because we need to figure out that. So we always do that. NPER is the number of payments, which is whatever is in this B2. Present value, I'm going to click in whatever is in B1, and I click OK, and it comes up with a negative 555, which is just making a guess that your interest rate is 0% at this point. And it's negative because the money is going out of your pocket. Now what I want to figure out is that I want to make a monthly payment of $900, and I want the goal seek to figure out what interest rate needs to be created that I need to make that payment. Now for this to work, you always need to set up your calculations. If your calculations are not set up, none of these things will work. So if you go to the data tab and you look for what if analysis, in there you see an option called goal seek. Now in 2007, I believe, 2010, and I'm using 2013, it will be pretty much the same. If you're using 2003, you may need to look into the tools menu, and you'll see goal seek in there. So I'll click on goal seek. Now I just need to answer a few values here, which is set cell, which is this cell. I want to set it to, in the next line, to value minus 900 because the money is going out of my pocket, by changing the cell, this one, which is B3, which is my interest. I'll click OK, and you'll find, and I'm going to click OK, it found a value 900, and it came up with interest rate 7%. Now most probably what you will find is that your interest rate initially looks like general, like this. Just hit the percentage symbol and then increase the decimal places by 2 points so that you can see it. So this is the idea of goal seek. And we'll try to look at another one. So I've got another goal seek scenario. Simple, which just gives you an idea, and then you can use it in many different cases. So here I've got an example of a coffee, which is $0.75 each, and I need to figure out how much do I want to sell the coffee for, and my subtotal calculation is price of a coffee multiplied by the number of coffee, and I should get my total. So that calculation has been set in there. Now I'm going to go to the data tab, look for what if, goal seek. Now in this one, I'm going to say that set the cell value of this one, which is C4. I want the value of, say, $3,000. So my changing cell is this one, which is how many cups would I need to sell to reach that value of 3,000. I'll click OK, and there it is. It came up with the number. Now you could have figured this out in other ways, but just wanted to practice it with the goal seek. Now you can figure this out in many different ways. The next example, we will look at the scenario manager. So I'll come to the sheet for scenario. Now the idea of scenario manager is that you're trying to create some scenarios so you can figure out what's happening or what might happen based on certain criteria. So in this case, there are a coffee shop is selling some coffees. So there is a regular coffee at $1.25, and if I sell 100, my subtotal is, which will be 100 multiplied by 125. So I did D3 multiplied by D4. So again, for the scenario manager, your calculations have to be in place for it to work. This is a premium latte for $2. If I sell 175, the total is 350, which is D7, which is 2 multiplied by D8, and so on and so forth. And my revenue is D5, which is 125, D9, which is 350, and D13, which is 225. So that's what my total is. And this is just a calculation of how many cups I'm selling. So now I want to just figure out some scenarios, good, bad, and all the possibilities. So to start the scenario, again, I go to data, what if analysis, and there is an option called scenario manager. And I had created some earlier, so I'm just going to delete these. So you're going to start with adding, and I'm going to give it a name. So I'll give this a name, worst scenario. This is the worst. And in the changing cell, what are the changing values? Which will be the number of cups I'll be selling, because these can vary. So I'll click on the first one, hold the control, click on the second, and then click on the third. Now when I click OK, it will ask me to put some values in it. So now I need to put some values. So the worst scenario is that I'll sell 50 of these cups. I'll sell maybe 100 of this, and I will sell maybe 60. So that's the worst case scenario, and you can add more if there was anything more. I click OK, and it's added, and I can actually hit show, and you see it shows me the values there. I'll just close this, and I'll hit undo. Now to do it a little properly, what you can do is you can click on this cell where the values are going, and click in the name box in the left hand corner, and I can give it a name, regular coffee, and I hit enter. Now remember, for the names you cannot put spaces in the middle, and you have to start with an alphabet. So and you always remember to hit enter. I'll click here, and I'll click in here, and I'll say premium coffee, and the last one I'll click in there, click in the name box, and I'll type premium mocha, and I hit enter. Okay. Now I'll just go back to what if scenario manager, and I'm just going to delete this so that I can do it again. I'll click add. Again, I'll do worst. Click in the changing cells. I'll click on the first one, hold the control, click on the second one, and then the third one, and I click OK. Now you see the names showed up there. So now it just makes it a little easier to type. So regular coffee, worst scenario is that I sell 50 of the regular coffee, 100 of the premium, and say 40, and I'll click OK. Now I'm going to add some more, so I'll click add, and I'll say ideal scenario, and those changing cells are still in there, so I just click OK, and I'll say the ideal will be that I sell 175 of the regular, I sell 225 of the premium, and I sell 150 of the mocha. I click OK, and I'll click add, and I'll say OK scenario, kind of. Click OK, and I'll mix up some numbers here. So 125, I'll say this will be 130, and this will be 110, and I'll click OK. Now if any values you want it to show, you just click on it and hit the show button. But if you want now, I can just click on the summary, and it will ask me, do you want a scenario summary? You can also create a pivot table report. We'll just stick with the scenario summary. Now in this window, the only thing to watch out for is the result cell needs to be your revenue, because that is what your results are. So just need to have that in there. So it should be the cell which has my revenue in this case, and I'll click OK. And now it opens a new sheet which my scenario summaries the current values, worst values, ideal values, and then OK values. I don't know why this showed up here. I think I must have increased the decimal places. That's why it showed up like that. So these are a good way to do your scenarios and see what's going to happen based on what you sell. I have another scenario example here in place, so I'll just click to that sheet. And in this scenario, I've just got a forecast for 2014 sales. So I had some sales values from the 2013 first quarter and the cost of goods sold, what was the cost of the goods, and the expenses. So what I did is for quarter one of 2014, we decided that there will be an increase in sales by 10%, an increase in cost of goods by 20%, an increase in expenses by 25%. So I just did the calculation here. I said equal to whatever is in this cell plus this cell multiplied by whatever is in this cell, 10%. So I made that cell absolute, which it wouldn't have mattered in this case. And then I've got cost of goods, so I took that value, multiplied by 20%. Then the gross profit is equal to sales minus cost of goods sold. Expenses is this amount, 25,000, plus 25,000 multiplied by 25%, and then my income is gross profit minus expenses. Now in the quarter two, what I did is I did equal whatever is in this cell, and I made the three absolute. So if you look in the formula bar, you will see that the 3, I made it absolute because I'm going to use the fill handle to go sideways so that the B will change to C3 in the next calculation, because I want to increase the sales by 25 or by 10% of the previous quarter. So that's what I've done. And the same thing I did with the cost of goods sold and things like that. And you see the example below here, so you can download the file. Now I want to create some scenarios. So this is the current scenario, but I want to check out what will happen in the worst case scenario, in a really good scenario kind of a thing. So I'll go to data, and I'll go to what if analysis, and I'll start the scenario manager, and I'll click on add, and I'll give it a name. So I'll say this is the best scenario, and in the changing cells I'm going to click on the cell where I have my changing percentage. So I'll click here, hold the control, click here, and click here. Now for this to work, remember these cells have to have been used in the calculations here, otherwise they will not work. So that's why I did the calculations in taking them into account. I'll click OK, and I'll say the best scenario is that sales have gone up by 25% and the cost has gone up to 22%, or maybe I'll make it say 15%, and the expenses has gone up maybe 28 or 26. This is the best. I'll click OK, and I'll add another one, and I'll give it worst scenario. I'll click OK, and I'll say the worst scenario is that sales only goes up by 5%, so I'll put 0.05, and the cost has actually gone up by say 25%, and the expenses have gone up to 30%. I'll click OK, and if I wanted, I can add another one, and I'll say this is OK scenario. And the OK scenario is that sales has gone up by say 12%, expenses has gone up by 18, and the expenses have gone up by 26. I click OK, and now I could just choose any of these and hit show, and these numbers will start to change behind me. Or I could even do the summary. Now before I do the summary, I'm just going to close this, and I'll click here, and I'll give all of them a name, because when I create the summary these names will show up. So I'll click here, and I'll click in the name box, and I'll put quarter 1 underscore income, and I'll do the same thing with all of them. Click in the name box, and I'll type quarter, so I'm just typing QTR 2 underscore income. I'll do the same with all of them. I'll pause the video for a minute. So I've just given all of them name. I've just called this one total underscore income because you cannot put spaces. Now let's go back to data, what if analysis, scenario manager, and I'll click on summary, and you just need to choose all of these cells, which is for my result cells, because I need to take all of them into account, and I'll click OK. And you see, here it is. So you see, I've got the labels here: quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and here is the results. So under the current value, these are the results. Under worst scenarios, in the quarter 3 and 4, I might lose some amount and I might even have a loss. In the best scenario, these are the results, and the OK scenario, and there are the percentages. Now, if I had given names to these cells, which is in the scenario 2 up here, that name would have shown up on the sheet too. In this example, I'm going to talk about the last thing for this video, called solver, which is based on certain scenarios. This program can try to give you the optimum values for your scenario. So for example, in this case, I've got a burger shop where I'm selling some beef burgers for $6, and if I sell 625 of them, I'll have a subtotal of 63750, which I just multiply these two cells. Chicken burger at this price, this many. This is my subtotal, and the veggie burger. And my total revenue will be equal to this cell plus this cell, which is C9, and then plus C13, which is in there. And this is just totaling up how many sandwiches or burgers I'm selling. B burgers beef, C burger this, and V burger vegetarian burger. Now these are my constraints. That is, in a given day, I can sell maximum of 500 burgers, maximum of 350 chicken burger, and 200 of vegetarian burger, for various reasons. Now if I want, I can click in here, and I can click in the name box, and I can call it max burger, enter. I can call it max chicken, and up here I'll just call it max veg. Again, no spaces in the middle, and I hit enter at the end. So now I need to start solver, which is under data, and I have the solver. Now in many of your cases you will not see this. So now to get the solver, what you have to do is go to the file button in 2010 and 2013, and then go to options. In 2007 you'll be going to the round office button, and then click on options, and in the options you go to add-ins, and then you click on the analysis tool pack. I think even if you don't, it will not make a difference, but I just like to click on it, and click on the go, and then put a check mark in the analysis tool pack and also the solver add-in. I just added that too, so I get the extra one, and then click OK. So now you will have this section here. So that's the way you add it in there. So now I'm going to start the solver by clicking on the solver button, and I'll just bring it down a little. Now the objective is, what cell is my objective? The objective is my revenue in this case. So just make sure that that cell is clicked in. Now I can set the objective, which is my revenue, to a max value. So I can say just give me the maximum, or I can say give me a value of, and I can put a number here. I can say, you know what, I want a value of 5200. By changing variable cells. So which cells are variable? So the cells which are variable are my burgers, the number of burgers I can sell. So I click on the first one, hold the control button, and then click on the second chicken burger, and also the cell for veg burger, and they are added there. And now I want to add some constraints, which is how many burgers can I sell on a given day. So I click on add, and my cell references first is the beef burger, and the constraint is whatever is in this cell, which is the beef burger. Constraint is 500, and then I'll click on add, and I'll add the second one, which is chicken burger, and the constraint is whatever is in this, which is 350, and I'll click add, and then I'll click on the veg burger cell reference, and the constraint, click in it, and I'm going to click on 200, and now I click OK. So there it is, and you see now, because I labeled them, I can see them listed there, so that you don't get confused. Now if I want, I can hit solve, and let's see, and it comes up with an option. If I want, I can hit the save button. So I'll just save it, and I'll call it 5200 because that's the scenario.
Now if I want, I can keep the solver solution. I click OK, or I can go back to the original values. So if you look in the back there, the burger values have changed. So I'll just click OK for now. And you see now, based on the revenue of 5200, before it was higher, it is telling me that based on your constraints and the things, you might want to go for 446 beef burgers, 312 chicken burger, and 186 vegetarian burger. So this is the idea, and that you go from solver. So now if I want, I can change the 5200 to 5800, and I can click solve. And now you see 5800, and it's telling me, and it's giving me some error. Some issues have come up. So I'll click OK, and it's just giving me some kind of values here. So this is the idea behind the solver, and this is just the introduction, because from what I understand, the solver can get really complicated. So you can look into it, and if you wanted to learn more, you can learn more going to the help section or getting a book from the library. But just understand how this can be useful. If I get a chance, I'll try to make another video just talking about this solver. Thank you for watching. Use the decimal places by 2 points so that you can see it. So this is the idea of goal seek. And we'll try to look at another one. So I've got another goal seek scenario. Simple, which just gives you an idea, and then you can use it in many different cases. So here I've got an example of a coffee which is $1.75 each, and I need to figure out how much do I want to sell the coffee for, and my subtotal calculation is price of a coffee multiplied by the number of coffee, and I should get my total. So that calculation has been set in there. Now I'm going to go to the data tab, look for what if, goal seek. Now in this one, 80 months, which is 15 years multiplied by 12. So I want to pay off this loan of $100,000 in 180 months, 15 years. And the interest rate, I'm leaving it blank because I want the goal seek to figure it out. So I'm going to click on the payment, and I'm going to go to the formulas, financial, and I'm going to start the payment function. And I'm just going to do this calculation. The rate is whatever is in this cell divided by 12, because we need to figure out that. So we always do that. NPER is the number of payments, which is whatever is in this B2. Present value, I'm going to put a click in whatever is in B1, and I click OK. In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit more about some extra features in Excel which is related to the goal seeking feature. Another one is called Scenario Manager, and a third one called Solver. So the first will get to the goal seek, and I've already typed up some of the examples, so I will try to leave a link to the description below, so you can click on that link and download this file from my website. So in this first example, I just wanted to do like a payment scenario. So in the previous video, I talked about some financial functions, and one of them was the PMT, the payment function. Now here I have this loan of 100,000, and it's a payment of 100, and using 2003, you may need to look into the tools menu, and you'll see goal seek in there. So I'll click on goal seek. Now I just need to answer a few values here, which is set cell, which is this cell. I want to set it to, in the next line, to value minus 900, because the money is going out of my pocket, by changing the cell, this one, which is B3, which is my interest. I'll click OK, and you'll find, and I'm going to click OK, it found a value 900, and it came up with interest rate 7%. Now most probably what you will find is that your interest rate initially looks like general, like this. Just hit the percentage symbol and then increase, and it comes up with a negative 555, which is just making a guess that your interest rate is 0% at this point. And it's negative because the money is going out of your pocket. Now what I want to figure out is that I want to make a monthly payment of $900, and I want the goal seek to figure out what interest rate needs to be created that I need to make that payment. Now for this to work, you always need to set up your calculations. If your calculations are not set up, none of these things will work. So if you go to the data tab and you look for what if analysis,
in there you see an option called goal seek. Now in 2007, I believe, 2010, and I'm using 2013, it will be pretty much the same. If you